Please subscribe. It helps me to keep posting new interesting stories. Once upon a time in the bustling city of Lexiconia, there lived a young girl named Ella. Ella loved reading books and exploring new words. She had a curious mind and a heart full of wonder. Her greatest desire was to expand her vocabulary and master the English language. However, she often found herself struggling to remember new words. One sunny afternoon, Ella decided to visit the Grand Library of Lexiconia, a place known for its vast collection of books and knowledgeable librarians. As she entered the library, she was greeted by an old librarian named Mr. Thesaurus. He was known throughout the city for his incredible memory and his ability to recall even the most obscure words. "Good afternoon, Mr. Thesaurus," Ella said with a smile. "I'm struggling to remember new words. Can you help me?" Mr. Thesaurus smiled kindly. "Of course, Ella. Remembering words is like going on an adventure. Let me tell you a story about a magical journey that might help you." Ella's eyes lit up with excitement as she sat down to listen. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there was a young prince named Lex. Prince Lex had a quest to collect the most beautiful words from around the world and store them in the royal lexicon. However, the words were hidden in various enchanted places, guarded by mystical creatures and challenging riddles. Prince Lex began his journey with a special map that guided him to the Forest of Synonyms. The forest was filled with trees bearing words that had similar meanings. To remember these words, Prince Lex used a technique called association. He imagined each word as a unique tree with branches that connected to other words with similar meanings. For instance, the word happy was connected to joyful, cheerful, and content. By visualizing the connections, Prince Lex found it easier to remember the words. Next, Prince Lex traveled to the Mountain of Antonyms. Here, he encountered words with opposite meanings. To remember these, he used the contrast method. He visualized the words as pairs of opposites standing on opposite peaks of the mountain. For example, hot stood on one peak while cold stood on the other. This helped him recall the words by thinking of their opposites. As Prince Lex continued his journey, he arrived at the River of Rhymes. The river's flowing water whispered words that sounded alike. To remember these, Prince Lex used the rhyming technique. He created short, memorable poems or songs that incorporated the rhyming words. For instance, cat and hat became part of a catchy rhyme. The cat in the hat sat on a mat. The rhythm and melody made it easier for him to recall the words. Further along his journey, Prince Lex discovered the Cave of Context. Inside the cave, words glowed with meaning when used in sentences. To remember these, Prince Lex practiced the context method. He created sentences or short stories using the new words. For example, the word elaborate was used in a sentence. The artist gave an elaborate description of his masterpiece. By understanding how the words were used in context, Prince Lex found it easier to remember their meanings. Finally, Prince Lex reached the Garden of Mnemonics. This garden was filled with mnemonic devices, which are memory aids that help in recalling information. Prince Lex learned to create vivid and imaginative associations for each word. For instance, to remember the word benevolent, he imagined a benevolent king giving out gifts to his subjects. The vivid imagery helped the word stick in his memory. After collecting all the beautiful words, Prince Lex returned to the royal lexicon and shared his newfound knowledge with his people. The kingdom flourished as everyone began using the techniques to remember new words. Prince Lex's journey became legendary, inspiring others to embark on their own adventures of word discovery. Mr. Thesaurus paused and looked at Ella. So you see, Ella, remembering words can be a fun and magical journey. Use association, contrast, rhymes, context, and mnemonics to help you along the way. With practice and imagination, you'll find that learning new words becomes easier and more enjoyable. Ella's face lit up with determination. Thank you, Mr. Thesaurus. I can't wait to start my own word adventure. And so, armed with new techniques and a heart full of excitement, Ella set off on her journey to master the English language, discovering the beauty and magic of words along the way. Ella left the Grand Library of Lexiconia with Mr. Thesaurus's advice resonating in her mind. She walked through the bustling streets, filled with determination to embark on her word adventure. As she wandered, she decided to visit her favorite place, the Park of Poetry. This park was a haven for word lovers, with benches and trees adorned with quotes, poems, and passages from famous works of literature. Ella found a quiet spot under a large oak tree and opened her notebook. She decided to start by using the association technique. She wrote down the word serendipity and began to think of words related to it. Chance, fortune, coincidence. She visualized herself finding a rare, beautiful flower by chance while strolling through the park. The vivid image helped her lock the word and its meaning into her memory. As Ella practiced, a gentle breeze carried the sound of children playing and laughing nearby. She looked up and saw a group of kids playing a game with a large, colorful ball. Inspired by their energy, she decided to create a fun game to help her remember words. She called it Word Ball. In Word Ball, Ella imagined herself throwing the ball to a friend, and every time the ball was caught, she had to say a new word and its meaning. The friend then had to use the word in a sentence before throwing the ball back. This playful exercise made learning words enjoyable and helped reinforce their meanings. Continuing her journey, Ella visited the bustling market of metaphors. This market was known for its rich language and expressive vendors who spoke in vivid metaphors. Ella approached a fruit vendor who was describing his apples as crimson jewels kissed by the sun. She decided to try using metaphors to remember words. She wrote down the word gregarious and thought of a flock of birds chirping happily together. By associating the word with the lively image of sociable birds, Ella found it easier to recall its meaning. She practiced with other words, turning abstract concepts into tangible images. Next, Ella made her way to the tranquil lake of literature. Here she met an elderly woman named Ms. Epitome, who was known for her extensive knowledge of classic literature. Ms. Epitome was delighted to help Ella and suggested using context to remember words. Ella chose the word ameliorate and wrote a short story. In a small village, there was a wise healer named Amira. Whenever the villagers faced difficulties, Amira's soothing words and remedies would ameliorate their suffering. By weaving the word into a narrative, Ella found it easier to remember and understand. As days turned into weeks, Ella continued her word adventure, exploring various places in Lexiconia and meeting people who shared her passion for language. She visited the Symphony of Synonyms, where musicians played harmonizing melodies that mirrored words with similar meanings. She learned about the nuances between words like exquisite and elegant through the music they inspired. Ella also ventured into the labyrinth of language, a maze filled with words and phrases from different cultures. Here she discovered the beauty of borrowing words from other languages and incorporating them into her vocabulary. Words like schadenfreude and tsunami added depth to her understanding of the world. One evening, as the sun set over Lexiconia, Ella found herself back at the Library of Lexiconia. She approached Mr. Thesaurus, who was delighted to see her progress. "You've come a long way, Ella. How has your journey been?" Ella beamed with pride. "It's been incredible, Mr. Thesaurus. I've learned so many new words and found creative ways to remember them. Thank you for guiding me." Mr. Thesaurus nodded. "Remember, Ella, the journey of learning words never truly ends. There are always new words to discover and new techniques to explore. Keep your curiosity alive, and you'll continue to grow." Ella left the library with a heart full of gratitude and a mind buzzing with new words. She knew her adventure had just begun, and she was excited to see where it would lead her next. With each step, she embraced the beauty of language, forever enchanted by the power of words. And so Ella's story of word discovery continued, a tale woven with imagination, practice, and the joy of learning. Ella's word adventure had taken her to many places and introduced her to a variety of techniques for remembering words. Yet she felt that there was so much more to learn. Determined to explore every corner of Lexiconia, Ella set out to visit the Tower of Tongues, a towering structure that was said to house the wisdom of languages from around the world. The Tower of Tongues was an impressive sight, standing tall against the skyline with its spiraling architecture. Each level of the tower was dedicated to a different language, and it was said that mastering the tower could grant one unparalleled linguistic prowess. As Ella entered, she was greeted by the keeper of the tower, a wise and multilingual woman named Polyglotta. "Welcome, Ella," said Polyglotta with a warm smile. "I've heard of your journey. Are you ready to delve into the heart of languages?" Ella nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, I want to learn as much as I can about words and how to remember them." Polyglotta guided Ella to the first level, which was dedicated to the roots of words. "Understanding the roots of words can help you remember their meanings," she explained. "For example, the Latin root scrib means to write. Words like describe, scribble, and manuscript all share this root. By learning the roots, you can decipher the meanings of unfamiliar words." Ella took out her notebook and began listing words with common roots. She found it fascinating how a single root could connect so many different words, making it easier to remember their meanings. On the second level, Ella encountered the Chamber of Cognates. Here, she learned about cognates, words in different languages that share a similar origin and meaning. Polyglotta explained that recognizing cognates could make learning new languages easier and help remember words in English that had similar counterparts in other languages. For instance, the English word family was similar to the Spanish familia and the French famille. By recognizing these similarities, Ella could create mental links between the words, aiding her memory. The third level housed the room of repetition. Polyglotta explained the importance of spaced repetition, a technique for reviewing words at increasing intervals to reinforce memory. Ella learned about using flashcards and apps to practice this method. She created a set of flashcards with new words and their meanings, reviewing them regularly to ensure they stayed fresh in her mind. As Ella continued her ascent, she reached the Hall of Homophones. Polyglotta taught her about words that sounded the same but had different meanings and spellings, like flower and flower. To remember these words, Ella used the context method, creating sentences that highlighted their meanings. The flower bloomed beautifully versus she baked the bread with flour. The fifth level, the Synesthesia Studio, was a vibrant and colorful place where Ella learned to associate words with sensory experiences. Polyglotta explained that some people naturally link words with colors, tastes, or sounds. Ella experimented with this technique by imagining the word bitter as a sharp, unpleasant taste and the word melody as a sweet, harmonious sound. These sensory associations helped her remember the words more vividly. Next, Ella arrived at the Garden of Gestures. Here, she discovered the power of using physical movement to remember words. Polyglotta demonstrated by acting out words like jump, twirl, and crawl. Ella mimicked the actions, finding that the physical activity helped cement the words in her memory. The seventh level, the Palace of Puns, was a place of laughter and wordplay. Polyglotta showed Ella how puns and jokes could make words more memorable. They created playful sentences like, "I'm reading a book on anti-gravity. It's impossible to put down." The humor made the words stick in Ella's mind. As Ella reached the higher levels, she found herself in the sanctuary of stories. Here, she learned the power of storytelling in remembering words. By weaving new words into imaginative tales, Ella found it easier to recall them. She wrote short stories featuring characters like a benevolent dragon named Benevolus and a meticulous librarian named Meticula. These narratives provided context and made the words come alive. Finally, Ella arrived at the pinnacle of practice. Polyglotta explained that consistent practice was the key to mastering any language. Ella set a daily goal to learn and use a certain number of new words, incorporating them into her conversations, writing, and thoughts. She kept a journal of her progress and reflected on the words she had learned. With Polyglotta's guidance, Ella spent months in the Tower of Tongues, mastering each level and refining her techniques. She practiced diligently, and over time her vocabulary grew immensely. The words that once seemed elusive became familiar friends. One day, as she stood at the top of the tower, overlooking the vast landscape of Lexiconia, Ella realized how far she had come. She felt a deep sense of accomplishment and gratitude for the journey she had undertaken. She knew that her adventure with words was far from over, but she was now equipped with the tools and techniques to continue learning and growing. Ella descended the tower, carrying with her a treasure trove of words and memories. She returned to the bustling streets of Lexiconia, ready to share her knowledge with others and inspire them to embark on their own word adventures. And so, Ella's story of word discovery continued, a never-ending tale of exploration, practice, and the joy of learning. With each new word she learned, she added a new chapter to her story, forever enchanted by the beauty and magic of language. Ella's journey through Lexiconia had only just begun. She felt invigorated by her experiences at the Tower of Tongues, and she set her sights on exploring even deeper realms of linguistic mastery. Lexiconia was a city of infinite possibilities, and she was determined to uncover every secret it held. Her next destination was the enchanted Isles of Etymology, a place where the origins of words were brought to life in vivid detail. The journey to the Enchanted Isles required Ella to navigate through the sea of syntax. She boarded a small boat named Grammar, helmed by Captain Claus, an old sailor known for his impeccable command of language. As they sailed, Captain Claus shared tales of the sea and its influence on language. "Words are like waves," he said. "They travel across cultures and time, changing shape and meaning as they go. To understand a word fully, you must trace its journey from its origin to its present form." Ella listened intently, taking notes and asking questions. She learned that the word nautical, for example, originated from the Greek word nautikos, meaning of sailors or ships. By understanding the etymology, she could remember the word more easily. After days at sea, they arrived at the first of the Enchanted Isles, the Isle of Latin Roots. The island was lush and green, dotted with ancient Roman ruins. Here, words with Latin origins grew like plants in a garden. Ella met a scholar named Dr. Root, who specialized in tracing the Latin roots of English words. "Many English words have Latin roots," Dr. Root explained. "For instance, the word benevolent comes from the Latin bene, meaning well, and volunt, meaning wishing. Knowing the roots helps you understand and remember the word's meaning." Ella explored the island, cataloguing words and their Latin roots. She created a mental garden where each word grew from its root, blossoming into its modern form. This visualization technique helped her retain the meanings and connections of the words she encountered. Next, Ella traveled to the Isle of Greek Origins. This island was rocky and mountainous, with ancient Greek temples and statues scattered across its landscape. She met a wise old man named Mentor, who guided her through the intricacies of Greek-derived words. "Greek has given us many scientific and medical terms," Mentor said. "Take telepathy, for example. It comes from tele, meaning distant, and pathy, meaning feeling. By breaking down the word into its Greek components, you can understand and remember it better." Ella practiced this technique, breaking down words like philosophy from philo, meaning love, and Sophie, meaning wisdom, and democracy from demos, meaning people, and kratos, meaning power. The more she practiced, the more intuitive it became. Leaving the Greek Isle, Ella set sail for the Isle of Old English. This island was shrouded in mist, with ancient Anglo-Saxon villages and manuscripts scattered throughout. Here she met a historian named Bard, who specialized in the origins of words from Old English. Many everyday words come from Old English, Bard explained. For example, house comes from the Old English whose, and book comes from bok. Knowing these origins can give you a deeper appreciation and understanding of the words. Ella immersed herself in the history and culture of Old English, learning about the evolution of words and how they adapted over time. She found that connecting words to their historical context made them more memorable. Her journey continued to the Isle of Norse influence, where she learned about words borrowed from Old Norse. This island was rugged and cold, with Viking longships and rune stones dotting the landscape. She met a linguist named Skald, who shared tales of Norse mythology and its impact on English. Words like sky, knife, and window come from Old Norse, Skald said. Understanding their origins can help you remember and appreciate their meanings. Ella practiced by creating stories and visualizing Viking scenes associated with each word. This imaginative approach made the words stick in her memory. From the Isle of Norse influence, Ella sailed to the Isle of Borrowed Words. This island was a melting pot of cultures, with words borrowed from French, Spanish, Italian, and many other languages. She met a polyglot named Multilingua, who specialized in the assimilation of foreign words into English. English is a rich tapestry of borrowed words, Multilingua explained. For example, ballet comes from French, patio from Spanish, and piano from Italian. Recognizing these borrowed words can help you remember their meanings and spellings. Ella explored the island, creating connections between words and their languages of origin. She practiced using the words in sentences, understanding their nuances and cultural contexts. Her final destination was the Isle of Future Words. This island was futuristic and technologically advanced, representing the ever-evolving nature of language. Here she met an innovator named Neologos, who specialized in new words and slang. Language is constantly evolving, Neologos said. New words are created all the time, like selfie and emoji. Embrace these changes and stay curious about the evolution of language. Ella embraced the challenge, staying updated on new words and trends. She realized that language was a living entity, always growing and adapting. With her journey through the Enchanted Isles complete, Ella returned to Lexiconia, her mind brimming with knowledge and new techniques for remembering words. She felt a deep sense of accomplishment and excitement for the future. Ella's adventure in Lexiconia had transformed her understanding of language. She had learned to appreciate the rich tapestry of words, their origins, and their connections. Armed with this knowledge, she continued her journey, forever enchanted by the power and beauty of words. And so Ella's story of word discovery continued, an endless tale of exploration, learning, and the joy of mastering the English language. Each new word she encountered added another layer to her understanding, making her journey ever more fascinating and rewarding. Ella's quest for mastering the English language had taken her through various enchanting realms of Lexiconia. Her journey was far from over, and she was eager to dive deeper into the world of words. With a heart full of excitement and a mind brimming with knowledge, Ella set out to explore new methods and adventures to enrich her vocabulary even further. One day, as Ella strolled through the bustling streets of Lexiconia, she came across a quaint little shop named Mnemonic Marvels. Intrigued by the name, she stepped inside. The shop was filled with colorful objects, puzzles, and intriguing gadgets designed to aid memory. The shopkeeper, a quirky inventor named Dr. Mnemo, greeted her with a warm smile. "Welcome, Ella. I've heard about your incredible journey with words. Here you'll find tools that can make remembering words even more fun and effective," Dr. Mnemo said enthusiastically. Ella was fascinated by the various items in the shop. Dr. Mnemo introduced her to a device called the Mnemonic Mind Mapper. It was a digital tool that allowed users to create mind maps, connecting words with images, sounds, and related concepts. Ella decided to give it a try. She started with the word ephemeral. She linked it to an image of a delicate butterfly, symbolizing something short-lived. She added related words like fleeting and transient, creating a web of connections. The visual representation helped her solidify the word in her memory. Next, Dr. Mnemo showed her a set of word wands. These wands, when waved, projected holographic images representing different words. Ella picked up a wand and waved it, and a hologram of a serene landscape appeared, with a calm lake and peaceful surroundings. The visual and interactive element made the word more memorable. As Ella explored the shop, she came across a corner dedicated to auditory mnemonics. Dr. Mnemo explained that some people remember words better through sounds and music. He handed her a pair of headphones and a small device called the Sound of Words. Ella put on the headphones and selected the word melancholy. The device played a soft, somber tune that evoked a feeling of sadness. By associating the word with the music, Ella found it easier to remember its meaning and emotional context. The next day, Ella decided to visit the Hall of Idioms and Expressions. This grand hall was a place where figurative language came to life. Each idiom and expression was represented by a vivid scene, allowing visitors to experience the phrases in a tangible way. Ella met an expert named Ms. Figurata, who specialized in idiomatic expressions. Idioms and expressions add color to our language, Ms. Figurata explained. Understanding their meanings can greatly enhance your vocabulary. Ella explored scenes like raining cats and dogs, where she saw holograms of cats and dogs falling from the sky, and a piece of cake, where she watched a baker easily slice through a cake. These visual and interactive experiences made the idioms unforgettable. Inspired by her visit, Ella started creating her own visual representations for idioms and expressions she encountered. She drew pictures and created small models to depict phrases like break the ice and spill the beans. This hands-on approach helped her remember the idioms more effectively. Ella's next adventure took her to the Academy of Acronyms and Abbreviations. This institution was dedicated to teaching the art of condensing information into memorable acronyms and abbreviations. She met Professor Abrev, a scholar known for his expertise in this field. Acronyms and abbreviations can be powerful memory aids, Professor Abrev said. They help you remember complex information in a simplified form. Ella practiced creating acronyms for lists of words she wanted to remember. For example, to remember the colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, she used the acronym ROIGBIV. She found that creating and using acronyms made recalling information much easier. The Academy also taught her about backronyms, where she could create a memorable phrase from the letters of a word. For example, for the word smart, she created specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, to remember goal-setting principles. One evening, Ella attended a language symposium at the Lexiconia Amphitheater. The event featured speakers from various linguistic disciplines, each sharing their unique methods for remembering words. Ella was particularly fascinated by a presentation on the memory palace technique by Dr. Losi. A memory palace is a mental construct where you place information you want to remember within an imagined location. Dr. Losi explained, by visualizing this palace and the items within it, you can enhance your recall. Ella decided to create her own memory palace. She imagined a grand castle with different rooms dedicated to different categories of words. In the nature room, she placed words like verdant and arid. In the emotion room, she stored words like jubilation and despair. By mentally walking through her palace, She could easily recall the words she had placed there. Continuing her journey, Ella visited the rhyming realm, a place where poets and musicians gathered to celebrate the beauty of rhymes. She met a poet named Rhymus, who taught her how rhyming could aid memory. Rhymes create a musical quality that makes words easier to remember, Rhymus said. Think of nursery rhymes and how they stick in your mind. Ella practiced creating rhymes for new words she learned. For example, to remember gregarious, she created the rhyme, Greg's party was so gregarious, it made everyone feel quite hilarious. The playful and rhythmic nature of rhyming made the words more memorable. Ella's adventures in Lexiconia were filled with discovery and creativity. She realized that the key to remembering words was to engage multiple senses and techniques. By using visual aids, sounds, stories, acronyms, rhymes, and interactive experiences, she could enhance her memory and make learning enjoyable. One day, as she walked through the Lexiconia Botanical Gardens, she reflected on her journey. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment and gratitude for the diverse methods she had learned. Her vocabulary had grown immensely, and she had developed a profound appreciation for the richness of language. Ella's story of word discovery continued, an ever-expanding tale of exploration, creativity, and the joy of mastering the English language. With each new word she encountered, she added another layer to her understanding, making her journey endlessly fascinating and rewarding. The city of Lexiconia remained a place of wonder and enchantment, where the magic of words awaited at every turn. Ella's quest for mastering the English language had led her to numerous extraordinary places within Lexiconia. Each adventure brought new techniques and deeper insights into the art of remembering words. Yet she knew there was still much to explore. Determined to continue her journey, Ella set her sights on the fabled plains of practice, where it was said that words came to life through repeated use and practical application. Ella's first stop in the plains of practice was the bustling city of conversation. Here, people from all walks of life gathered to engage in vibrant discussions, debates, and storytelling. The city was a living testament to the power of spoken words. Ella was drawn to the speaker's square, where anyone could share their stories and ideas. She met an eloquent orator named Verbis, who invited her to participate in a word circle. The participants took turns speaking, each using new and challenging words in their dialogues. Verbis explained, the more you use a word in conversation, the stronger your memory of it becomes. Ella embraced the challenge, incorporating words like exuberant and pensive into her discussions. She found that using words in context helped her remember their meanings and nuances. The dynamic exchange of ideas made learning words an engaging and social experience. Next, Ella ventured to the workshop of writing, a vibrant place where writers of all kinds gathered to hone their craft. Here she met an accomplished author named Scripta, who taught her the importance of writing in remembering words. When you write, you engage multiple parts of your brain, Scripta said. The act of crafting sentences with new words reinforces their meanings. Ella decided to start a journal dedicating each entry to a different theme or word. She wrote short stories, essays, and poems, weaving in words she wanted to remember. For instance, she wrote a poem about a luminous moonlit night, capturing the essence of the word through her imagery. The creative process helped her internalize the words, making them a natural part of her vocabulary. At the heart of the plains of practice lay the arena of application, a grand space where learners could apply their vocabulary in real-world scenarios. Ella participated in role-playing exercises, simulating situations like negotiating a business deal or giving a public speech. She practiced using precise and sophisticated words to articulate her thoughts clearly and effectively. In one exercise, Ella played the role of a diplomat, using words like diplomatic and amicable to navigate a complex negotiation. The immersive experience helped her understand the practical application of her vocabulary, boosting her confidence in using new words. Ella's journey then took her to the Theatre of Thespians, where actors and performers use dramatic arts to bring words to life. She met a charismatic actor named Thespia, who introduced her to the power of emotion and expression in remembering words. When you embody a word through acting, you create a memorable experience that anchors the word in your mind, Thespia explained. Ella joined a theatre group, performing in plays and skits that required her to use a diverse range of words. In one performance, she portrayed a melancholy character, infusing her acting with deep emotion to convey the word's meaning. The physical and emotional engagement made the words more vivid and memorable. Continuing her exploration, Ella arrived at the Garden of Gestures, a serene place where body language and movement were used to reinforce vocabulary. She met a graceful dancer named Kinesia, who taught her how to use gestures to enhance word retention. Our bodies can help us remember words by associating them with specific movements, Kinesia said. Ella practiced pairing words with gestures, creating a physical vocabulary. For instance, she used a sweeping motion to represent the word grandeur, and a small, delicate gesture for subtle. The kinesthetic learning approach added a new dimension to her memory techniques. One day, Ella heard about the legendary sage of synonyms, an ancient scholar who lived in the secluded valley of vocabulary. Determined to seek his wisdom, she embarked on a journey through winding paths and dense forests. After several days, she reached the sage's abode, a humble cottage surrounded by a lush garden of word plants. The sage of synonyms, an elderly man with a long white beard and twinkling eyes, welcomed her warmly. "Words are like seeds," he said. "To truly understand and remember them, you must nurture their connections and relationships." The sage taught Ella about the importance of synonyms and antonyms in expanding her vocabulary. He showed her how to create word families, grouping together words with similar or opposite meanings. By exploring the relationships between words, Ella found it easier to remember and use them accurately. Inspired by the sage's teachings, Ella created a synonym tree where each branch represented a different word and its related terms. For example, the branch for happy included words like joyful, elated, and content. The visual and conceptual connections helped her deepen her understanding of each word. Ella's journey also took her to the Library of Languages, a vast repository of linguistic knowledge. Here, she met a polyglot librarian named Polyglotta, who introduced her to the concept of cognates, words in different languages that share a common origin. Cognates can help you remember words by linking them to familiar terms in other languages, Polyglotta explained. Ella discovered that many English words had cognates in languages she was familiar with. For instance, the English word family was similar to the Spanish familia and the French famille. By recognizing these connections, she found it easier to remember the words and their meanings. One evening, as Ella sat by the fireplace in her cozy cottage, she reflected on her journey. She realized that her quest to master the English language had transformed her not only as a learner, but also as a person. She had discovered the joy of learning, the beauty of words, and the power of language to connect people and ideas. Ella knew that her adventure was far from over. Lexiconia was a boundless world of words, and she was eager to continue exploring its wonders. With each new word she encountered, she added another layer to her understanding, making her journey endlessly fascinating and rewarding. And so Ella's story of word discovery continued, an ever-expanding tale of exploration, creativity, and the joy of mastering the English language. With each new day, she ventured deeper into the heart of Lexiconia, forever enchanted by the magic and beauty of words.